Hi guys, today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day free trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/musicalswithcheese and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. 'Tis that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/musicalswithcheese. Also, a huge special thanks to our patrons over at Patreon. They are getting a lot of cool perks that y'all aren't getting. So unless you want to be in the cool team, you better join our Patreon. And our patrons include
the cool team.
Hey, they are the cool team. What else would you call them?
They're the cool squad. Our cool squad is
our cheese squad.
Our cheese squad. If you want to be part of the cheese squad, you're gonna have to join up with Stephanie L,
Terry Needleman,
Max Lunig,
Benjamin Lehrer,
Chris O'Kelly,
Lily Ackles,
Danielle Renix,
Mackenzie Horner,
Taryn the duck, the only real duck we have,
Melissa Goldman, the only Goldman we have,
and Jess Lightning, the best Jess we have.
The greatest Jess we'll ever have. Ewan Cassidy.
And Haley McDonald.
They give us a little extra financial support that helps keep the lights on here at Musicals with Cheese. We've already put a bunch of funds toward making sure that Andrew's audio doesn't sound terrible anymore. And if you would like to join them in supporting us,
Thanks,
you get tons
Jess.
of fun perks such as commentaries that no one else is getting, and a ton of other updates. They get to vote on
We
some
just
things that we're doing
just
in the
recently
future.
put out Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Yeah, a commentary on that. Andrew loved it.
I
Believe
loved
it or
It's-
not.
I absolutely loved it. It was fantastic. Thank you all.
And also they get our episodes a day earlier, and it's tons of fun stuff. So come join us at Patreon. Andrew, talk about our affiliate link.
Okay, we also have our Amazon affiliate link, which is in the description of all of our episodes. If you're going to buy something on Amazon, just click the link and buy it for the same price, and we get a portion of it.
And also, you know, they're listening to this on their phones and all that,
Oh my
so they
God.
should also be able to text their friends one or two things that they love about our show and explain why their friend should be listening to. So go do that right now if you like us.
All right,
let's get on to the real show.
Oh my goodness.
Hello, I'm Jesse McAnally.
And I'm Andrew DeWolf.
And welcome to Musicals with Cheese, a podcast where I try to get Andrew to like musical theater. And today, Andrew, we have another wonderful special guest.
Oh my goodness, such a special guest. Again, with the special guest. Jess, where do you find these people?
I don't know. They come
I'm
to
serious,
me.
though. Where do you find these people?
Well, today we have actress, performer, artist, and all-around cool person, Rachel Chen. How are you doing today, Rachel?
I'm good. How are you?
We're all doing fantastic.
We're all doing good. So, you know what? What are we talking about today?
We're talking about Miss Saigon.
Miss Saigon is a musical by Claude-Michel Schönberg and Alain Boublil, with lyrics by Boublil and Richard Maltby Jr. It is based on Puccini's opera, Madame Butterfly, and similarly tells the story of a doomed romance involving an Asian woman abandoned by her American lover. The setting of the plot is relocated to 1970 Saigon during the Vietnam War, and Madame Butterfly's story of marriage between an American lieutenant and a geisha is replaced by a romance between a United States Marine and a 17-year-old Vietnamese bar girl. It premiered at the Theatre Royal, Drury Lane, London on 20th of September 1989, closing after 4,092 performances on 30th October 1999. It opened on Broadway at the Broadway Theatre on April 11, 1991, and subsequently played in many other cities and embarked on tours. Prior to the opening of the 2014 London revival, it was claimed that Miss Saigon had set a world record for opening day ticket sales, with sales in excess of £4 million reported. And it's the only other musical aside from Les Mis that Schönberg and Boublil ever did. That's worth noticing. Like, does anyone ever talk about the Pirate Queen? No.
Wait, there's another one?
Yeah.
What is the Pirate Queen?
Nobody
But
knows.
nobody ever talks about it.
Nobody's seen it. Jess, we have to do an episode on that.
Good luck finding it.
Oh, boy.
So, Andrew, this was your first time watching. We know that Rachel has a really deep connection to Miss Saigon, but in this first experience of watching Miss Saigon, what are your thoughts?
I think the music is really, really good. But I think that the story could use a little bit of work in a few places. That seems to be a general opinion, though. I mean, we've been talking about it a little bit behind the scenes here, and that seems to be a general opinion, is that the story is the weak point for a lot of people.
Would you agree with that, Rachel?
Yeah, I think it obviously has its faults, and it was written in a time that really didn't have as much, I don't know, the worldview back then was very different from it is now. So I think if they did rewrite a version of it, it would be so different. But it is quite, I don't know, like the story is true to an extent. Lots of people have actually gone through that kind of journey, I guess. And there are lots of kids that are, you know, like the Tam in the story that come up with their personal retellings of what they've been through and what their parents have been through to get them to where they are now. So I think that lots of people all over the world resonate with it. And even if you don't have the exact same story as Kim goes through with Tam and everything, there are lots of people that resonate with it in other ways. So I think it is quite a good story to be telling. It just has some things, like it's rough around the edges, I guess, because it has to be when you're touching on this kind of topic.
As an Asian woman yourself, how do you feel that it represents Asians within it? Because that has been a long-standing debate within its existence throughout its time.
Oh, absolutely. Like, I think that was the first controversial thing. Jonathan Pryce, who originated the role of the engineer, he is not Asian, and the engineer is Caucasian, but no, he's not Caucasian. He's Eurasian. He's half Asian, half French. Like, he's half French. So people were like, oh, it's not fair that you're kind of like whitewashing the entire role. And he did wear yellow face for the entire duration that he was in the show. So that was the first thing that people were like really, really angry about, which is understandable. I mean, I'm angry about it now. But I think the weird thing about Saigon is that I have so much appreciation for it, for kind of paving the way, I guess. I think lots of aspiring Asian actresses and, you know, like successful Asian actresses have the same feeling towards this piece of work, because it really did pave the way for representation of Asian women and men on, like, in the media and in musical theater. And I think many people have that appreciation for Miss Saigon kind of creating that platform for us to be seen. But in the same way, there is kind of that joint, I guess, like feeling of being like, we don't want to be boxed up into this cage. Like, we don't want to come out into the industry and be told you're only ever going to be a Kim or you're only ever going to be a Gigi, because that's not what real life Asian people are like, I guess. Like, we're not just your typical Kim or Gigi. We have so much more to us than that. So while being grateful for it and being so incredibly, I don't know, moved by this piece of work and how it really it paved the way for us, I also see that it's really not what we want to be remembered for, especially in years to come.
But it also brought, like, I see that, but also I see it brought us great talents like Lea Salonga, who we would not have if this musical had not existed. And she is by far the best Eponine and one of the best Fantines. Like,
agree.
Just, we wouldn't have Mulan without Miss Saigon.
100%.
Like, think about that.
That would be a sad world, man.
It's a real generalization to make, but it's hard to ignore the good things that this brought. Like Ava Noblezada, we probably wouldn't have her in such a high priority role on Broadway right now if it wasn't for the existence of Miss Saigon.
Yeah. Lots of people say stuff like, I mean, Kim is a role that I think lots of actresses have emerged in. Like, it was the stepping stone for them going on to bigger things. Even Emily Bautista, who's now the US tour Kim, she was the understudy on Broadway, and from that she booked Eponine on the US tour, and then now she's the full principal Kim, but we know that from this role she's going to go on to even bigger and better things. And I think that, I mean, there's two ways to look at it. One, people are getting that platform from being in this role and being able to move on from it. But two, I think Asian actresses, it would be amazing for them to be given opportunities that were outside of Saigon being their first big thing, you know?
Let's go into a little bit of the plot of Miss Saigon. Andrew, I'm actually going to have you describe it for us as your first time viewing it.
Sure. I will do my best. This one it's actually pretty straightforward, I think, though. This doesn't have too many twists or turns. So, I mean, you open up in your typical Vietnam War ending setting, in Saigon, of course. It's just before the Americans are gonna just bail, essentially. And there is a club. It's not a bar, it's a club called Dreamland, run by the engineer, and he is selling girls. And I mean, it's true though. That is what is happening, right?
It just makes me sick to hear it phrased that way.
That is literally what is going on, though.
I know, but still.
And one of the soldiers, who I believe is Chris. Is
Yes.
Chris the name? Yes.
The true villain of the story, yes, Chris.
Whatever. Chris ends up with a one of the girls named Kim, who is a perfect
17
flower,
and
we'll
new
say.
there today.
17 and her parents were burned alive. Like, she's had it rough.
She's had it very, very rough. And they have a few nights together. And then, of course, Chris has to leave entirely, leaving Kim behind.
But he was gonna marry her and bring her back with him. Like, that was the deal they made.
That was the deal they made, but that doesn't happen. They don't show us what actually does happen yet. That's
Okay,
later.
Okay.
So, if you want to just not spoil the whole thing, Jess, that'd be fine. I'm telling a story here. Like, Christ.
Apologies. Continue.
Okay. So then later on, there's like, I skipped a part. Oh, geez. Kim was previously married to some other dude I actually don't know the name of.
Tweet.
Tui.
Tui.
Don't expect me to pronounce that correctly.
Tui. It's not that hard. It's like the number 2 with an E. Tui.
Well,
2E.
her parents... her parents, like,
Explain it better,
promised
Rachel.
them together.
Yes,
they
it's
weren't
an
married
arranged
or anything,
marriage.
but yeah. They were promised at
It's an
13.
arranged marriage. Okay, so that's important because later on, after all the Americans have left, and I think it's like 2 years have passed. It's not really exact, I don't think.
It's 3 years.
But 3
It
years.
seems like 3 years. Yeah, it's 3 years.
Yes,
Yeah.
he does say it. Okay, and then 2E is part of the...
Fucking hell.
He's part of the army or the police force or something like that, and he finds Kim, and we discover that Kim had a child with Chris, which is obviously problematic for the whole situation, and Tui
Getting married.
Getting married, and especially with it being an American child, essentially.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Not really
Big
a good
no-no.
situation. Big no-no. So he tries to kill the kid, and Kim kills him. And that's
It's
sick.
a really intense moment. It is
And I just ruined
so
it.
incredible.
So incredible, and I just said it in like 2 seconds, and we're going to skip past it here.
But we also find out that Chris got remarried in America.
Yes, we find that out as well. And then,
Oh, God.
oh my goodness, where am I? Okay, so then they go to Bangkok. The engineer and Kim go to Bangkok?
Yeah, because it's closer to America and easier to get there
Yes.
from Bangkok.
It definitely would be. And that's when we cut to Chris and his buddy in
John.
America, John, and they have like a charity. He sings "We Are the World," and it's all great. And so then they go to find Chris's kid, And that's when all hell breaks loose and, the ending happens. And I guess I won't spoil that yet. We'll talk about that.
But in a show based on Madame Butterfly, you can be assured it ends happily.
Very happily.
Okay, Rachel, how do you think he did in describing that?
I did an okay job. I rambled a
I
little
didn't
bit.
ask you!
Like
Shut up,
A
Jess.
for effort.
A for effort.
A for effort. That's perfect. That's what I wanted.
Honestly, it wasn't that bad. I think it's a pretty fair description.
Now, we've all agreed basically that the 2E.
2E?
Tui.
2E.
Well, Jess told me it was like 2 with an E at the end, and that's...
Tui. Well, it kind of is.
I'm literally just messing with Jess. He's so mad right now.
See, Andrew can see my face right now, and
Jess is like red.
you're embarrassing me in front of company! We have become like an old married couple in these 48 episodes now.
That's true.
But we've all agreed that the story is the weakest part of this. So why, like, that story feels compelling enough. Where do we feel the weaknesses come?
Well, I think part of it is how it feels kind of disconnected once you get to the part where the Americans leave. Because at that point, Chris kind of leaves the story entirely. There's like a couple subplots before it all comes back together at the end. So I don't know. I think that's part of it.
How about you, Rachel?
Well, I think that if they had just put, because the nightmare scene happens in Act 2 when she's brought back to the memory of Chris leaving her. I think if they did put it in Act 1, it would have been a little, I don't know, I think the audience might have been a little bit, oh, okay, well, this is going to happen next, and this is going to happen next. Putting it in Act 2 was pretty smart, but also, I remember the first time I saw it live, I was so confused. I was like, wait, why is she now back there, and now he's leaving her, and I'm confused. So if you didn't pick up the program and, like, read what was happening, you wouldn't know what was happening.
I say this about every single show we watch, and Jess gets mad at me. You shouldn't need to read the playbill just to get the plot.
Exactly. I agree with that. I do think that because it is such a, like, cinematic moment, it kind of, I don't know, it's beautiful. The whole nightmare scene, like every Kim that's ever played Kim, wait, what? Yeah. Every Kim that's ever played Kim always says that the nightmare is their favorite scene. But I think generally speaking with the plot, people's like biggest concern about it is that, when Kim does start in this, she is 17, which means that her relationship with Chris is very illegal and disturbing. But then people write it off to be like the greatest love story of all time. And it's like, well, she was vulnerable and thrown into the situation, and it wasn't her, like she never wanted any of this, but it kind of just happened, So
it's a very awkward romance.
Yeah. And that's why lots of people have said, I mean, even when you talk to Eva about her favorite song, she always says that it's Sun and Moon over Last Night of the World, because in Sun and Moon, they're actually expressing their affection for each other without any, I don't know, you can't really say that there aren't any like external factors, because there are, they kind of were like forced into this. But in Last Night of the World, that whole song is basically talking about how they're going to love each other for the rest of their lives, just because Kim is going to be stuck in Vietnam without Chris, and he's going to be all guilty if they don't. So like there is an ulterior motive kind of, it's not, I don't think it can be represented as like the greatest love story of our time, because there are so many things like getting in the way of that true love. Does that make any sense? I don't know.
I think it shouldn't be represented as that either, because it's absolutely not a good love story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because they're both kind of thrown into it. I mean, a Marine in Vietnam, I think we all know that they don't want to be there. Mm-hmm. and then a 17-year-old bar girl, like, oh, that's not okay. So, I mean, the whole thing is just kind of messed up.
The thing that I think that when I do read, because all the like marquees and stuff, they say the greatest like love story of our time. I look at that as Kim's love for Tam and her, just her overwhelming love for her son and how she will do anything for him to live a life that was more fruitful than hers, I guess, or like just that was better. It had better circumstances. So I think that love to me is so much more, I don't know, like notable. Like when I watch it, I don't go, wow, Kim and Chris love each other so much. I'm like, Kim is so obviously passionate about her son, and that is something quite admirable that she would do anything for him.
Romantic way to look at it, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But my question is do we see this as creepy because it's so close to like present day? Like we look at things like Carousel, and it has a very similar opening where you've got like this older man and this younger woman, basically going into a romance, and the rest of it is the reason why it doesn't work. And this has a very similar setup to that, and yet we see this as creepy from the get-go because of how recent it is and our modern sensibilities.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more than that. I mean, you said yourself the selling girls aspect of it.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
The reason they meet is that also the Vietnam War, it definitely has very negative connotations just all around. So, I mean, nothing really good came from that.
And we have to talk about how Chris, I mean, a lot of this stems from guilt because Chris never even wanted anything to do with Kim in the beginning. I don't think lots of people realize, but no, I mean, it's pretty obvious. He says it a lot, but he doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to do any of this with, like this mumbo jumbo. And John is the one that is like, no, you're gonna like take this girl back to your bed and like do whatever you want with her. And so he kind of does it reluctantly, which already is like, wait, that's a bit weird. And then, I guess it is, he wants to walk away from it. And she tells him, she's like, look at my entire life story and all the things that I've suffered through. And he's like, wait, that's really sad. And I'm guilty now. Let's make out for 32 counts during the song. Like, it doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't stem from his love for her. I think a lot of guilt gets in the way, and just how he feels about her not having as good of a life as he can afford to give her.
Yeah, he feels like he has to save her, which is, it's not really love, it's just purely guilt.
Yeah.
I got a question.
Yeah, exactly.
I got a question about just reframing the story a little bit. What if we have, instead of him taking her to his place and then immediately making love and then him singing Why God Why don't they go back and then have the conversation about her parents and all that, and then they just go to sleep, and then he sings Why God Why, and then they have like a consensual romantic thing after all that? Like, why don't we have that character growth before we have the sexual connection? Would that make the story at least slightly more than just Chris acting out of guilt?
Well, I don't know if that's what they're going for, though. I feel like it needs to have that kind of disgusting element to it, because I mean, the ending doesn't really have a romantic end for them, so I don't know if it needs to have that true romance element.
Yeah, and I think obviously when writing a musical, you're not just going to put anything on stage. So they probably thought about this quite a lot. And I think they were really going for exactly that disgust, because if you go into Miss Saigon and come out being like, I just watched the best like love story I'll ever see, then I think they're not getting the reaction that they want you to. You should be disturbed. Like, I don't think that you should come out of it and be like, I want to love like that. You should probably feel uncomfortable at the circumstances that they were put in. And I think that they were trying to go for something that was a little bit more truthful rather than making it something that would appeal to, like, so that audiences would like it and so that it was like politically correct. But they were trying to, like, girls were manipulated in the situation back in the historical context of the show, and all of this complicated yucky stuff did happen. So I think they were really trying to make audiences see that it wasn't all, it wasn't great. Like, it had grit and pain, and yeah.
So both of you, Andrew, you as a
Yeah.
white American, and
that's me.
Rachel, you as a female Asian. Just a
That's all that
curious
defines
question.
me, Jess. That's all that defines her as well.
No,
Oh, 100%.
This is, how much would you rank the verisimilitude of two Frenchmen?
You want to rephrase that, Jess?
No, the verisimilitude of two white Frenchmen and a British producer representing both of you guys. How do you think that they represented both of your individual cultures? Because none of the writers are either American, Asian, or anything having to do with this musical. They're nothing.
They saw a photo and they're like, yep, time to write a whole story about this.
I think they did a good job. That's as good as they could do.
It's a really
Christ, I'm an American. How can I fail to do good?
That's how we really feel, though.
Is it?
Yes.
What about you, Rachel?
I mean, the main, the main female Asian character in this is Kim. Obviously, there's like Gigi and everything else, but they aren't given as many layers as Kim is because she has like the most stage time and about 70 solo songs. But she is looked at in a lot of different ways, but I don't think anybody ever looks at her as a bad character. Like, people are like, this is not who all Asian women are. Like, we're not all like this. But I think from my perspective, obviously lots of other people have lots of different opinions about Kim. But I think from my perspective, I've always seen her as a badass from the get-go, because people talk about how innocent she was at 17. And yes, she was really innocent and very naive and didn't know what she was getting herself into. But you have to remember that even from the moment she sings, like, do you want one more tale of a Vietnam girl? She's been through all of that before the story even starts. So she has survived all of that. And I mean, that would be so incredibly difficult to put yourself through. Well, she's not putting herself through it, but to get through. And then she really is quite a badass for the rest of the entire show. Like, after Chris leaves her, she finds a way. She is a victim, but she doesn't play the victim, you know? And I think that's something so important about her, is that no matter what, she trudges through. And I think, like, towards the end, obviously people are like, oh, what? Like, are we allowed to spoil the ending yet? Andrew was like,
yes, we're going to spoil the ending
later.
Go for it.
Well, yeah, so she kills herself, right? That's I mean, yeah. But I think people often are like, yeah, but she just killed herself. Like, why would she do that instead of sticking it out? But you have to look at why she did it. Like, she didn't just decide, okay, well, I'm gonna die. She wasn't doing it out of weakness. She was doing it because she wants the best for her child. So I think she really has a lot of layers, and she's been through a lot, but she, you know, she came out getting what she wanted, I guess. Maybe. We don't know what happens after the end of the musical and all that sad stuff.
I don't know if anybody got what anybody wanted in this.
The engineer might have. He might be going to America.
I don't think so. I don't think the engineer goes to
you know,
America.
because at the end they do the little, I mean, while Chris and Kim are crying in each other's arms, Ellen picks up Tam and stands at the back of the stage, and the engineer looks a little helpless and sad because he knows that he has always looked at Kim and Tam as his ticket out, and now that Kim is dead, they're going to take Chris, but they're not going to take the engineer. So I think that's the sad ending for the engineer. He never gets what he wants, unfortunately. Well, no, he's a horrible person, so it's fine.
Yeah, he's worst,
great.
but
he's fantastic.
I think all the actors that portray the engineer are amazing.
I think he's one of the most fun characters, but I think he is definitely a bad person.
Yeah.
I like that his American dream is even when he gets to America, he's still just going to be selling prostitutes. Like, come on.
You can't reach beyond that.
Well, you can't start a legitimate business. No. When you get to America, you're still going to be doing the same thing, just in America.
Well, do you know why? Andrew? Because men will always be men.
That's true, and the engineer will always be the engineer.
Mm-hmm. Hi, Hi, today's show is brought to you by Audible. Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day free trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/musicalswithcheese and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. 'Tis that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/musicalswithcheese to get started today. This week I didn't have time to think of a recommendation, so just find a book on your own. You're an adult. You can figure it out. So to download your free audiobook today, go to audibletrial.com/musicalswithcheese. Again, that's audibletrial.com/musicalswithcheese for your free audiobook.
Bold of you to assume that they're all adults, Jess.
Oh, yeah. I mean, by legal standards, our guest isn't even an adult.
Yikes.
Oh, yikes. But I am 18 at the end of the year, so...
That counts for something.
Yeah, let's get back to the show, though.
I'm 17 and I'm new here today. The village I come from seems so far away. All of these girls here know much more what to say, but I know I'm so much more than you see. A million dreams are in me.
Oh, Jesus, John, who is she?
All right, let's talk about the songs. The Heat Is On is a very weird opening number.
I don't know about that.
It's a vulgar,
Weird in what way?
crass. It sets up the world and it's interesting, but it also doesn't. It makes you think that the main character is someone that isn't Kim, which is also something I find really weird. Like it kind of frames it all around Gigi.
I like that. It's more interesting that way, though.
I think lots of people are like, well, why is Gigi Miss Saigon in the beginning and then it's called Miss Saigon? But if you remember in the wedding scene, Gigi says to Miss Saigon and they all toast it to Kim. Because even though like Kim was like the vulnerable one in the beginning, she ends up with the story that everybody wanted. Like, so I think it's meant to kind of set that up that you know, like Gigi never, she drew the short end of the stick in the end.
She got
I
the
also
prize.
think that the setting it up as a like a sleazy club kind of does set up how the entire show goes, because really you feel dirty at the end of the show in a way.
Mm-hmm.
I feel dirty from the beginning of the show. What are you talking about?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. The opening number sets up the whole thing.
I feel like I need a shower as soon as I walk in, and it's always weird because every time I've seen this show, like in the front row, there's been a bunch of little kids, and there's like girls like in thongs and like all that
God.
dancing. I'm like, ah,
Look, kids love it. The kids love it.
Wait, what productions have
I mean-
you guys seen, out of curiosity?
Andrew's only seen the 2014.
The movie recording of it?
Yes,
I believe that's the one I've seen, yes. I think Jess has seen a lot, though.
I saw the touring production.
Jess was one of the little kids in the front row.
Yeah, I was one of the little kids in the front row. Now
Jess,
that
did you like
say-
it?
Getting your innocence like stripped away from you as you watch
You know,
it.
now that I think about it, I don't think I was paying much attention to those. What about you, Rachel? Which ones have you seen?
It was my mom's favorite musical growing up, so I remember listening to little bits and pieces of it, but obviously as a child, like, my mom wasn't going to be like, hey, look at this musical, also there are prostitutes in it and all this fun stuff. So I very much like was quite clueless about the real themes that were touched on it growing up. But then as I grew older, I remember I think I came across like one of the Manila recording of it, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, but I'll put it away. And then when I went to New York for the first time, that was the first show that my mom booked tickets for. She was like, you're going to see Miss Saigon because like if you're going to go into musical theater, like that's one of the roles. So I was like, okay. I went into it and I was like, oh, wow, what's happening? And then I realized that the show has so much more than I had initially like set up in my head. You know, that I saw the 2016 or no, 2017. Yeah, 2017 Broadway production, like something like 7 or 8 times. I just kept going back. And that's how, you know, like, because Eva, when I first met her, I was like, oh my God, it's Eva Noblezada, but I didn't really indulge. And then from being a really good fan and stuff, she invited me back and had a chat with me and everything. And it was really nice. So that's how I kind of grew such a connection to this musical for making me better, because I've met lots of people through it and they make my life really happy. Yeah.
Incredible. So you're friends with Eva Noblezada, like...
Yeah. Like, it's always weird because obviously, she has been. She's given me a lot of pieces of advice that I will carry with me for the rest of my life. And yeah, and lots of people ask about this, like, how did you meet? But really, I was just a very, very good fan. And then she like followed me on Twitter, and I shat myself. And after that, we just like connect, because I think we're quite similar in who we are and what we want for ourselves in this world. So she's kind of like taken me under her wing a little bit and been very nice in that way.
So we're talking to the future Eva Noblezada.
That's
Oh my
not true,
God.
Jess.
You're right. We're talking to the first Rachel Chen.
That's true. That's the real way to say it.
Oh, that's really nice.
So as soon as you like get that Broadway break and you're making like the first incredible like Asian representation musical that's not like Miss Saigon, like they're gonna come back to this podcast and be like, man, they did not treat her with enough respect.
That's true. We didn't.
When you revoked my all-around cool person stuff, I'm gonna haunt you for this forever.
The all-around cool
Oh,
person
no.
status was a little bit much, I think.
He gives me dollar bills. Our children laugh all day. They eat too much ice cream. And life is like a dream. The dream I long to find. The movie in my mind.
Let's talk about the movie in my mind.
Oh yeah. Okay. Moving on.
This is an
We keep
incredible
getting-
I Want song. Like this, and it's Gigi's I Want song, but it's also like everyone's I Want song. It's the general I Want song of every girl at Dreamland. As it's gone on and grown over the years, it's only gotten better. Like, the thing about the show is they have George Lucas syndrome of wanting to change all the lyrics, and unlike Jesus Christ Superstar, this is mostly for the better.
I agree.
What are some of your favorite lyrics that got changed, Jess?
This little girl, we could be in the sack for the same price to buy a Big Mac.
Oh,
That's a
what the-
great line, Jess. Come on. What song is that from?
Heat is on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Makes me uncomfortable to hear it, and honestly, like, it's cringy. And it makes Chris look really, like, equating her to food, and it makes me feel disgusted. But the new version where it's like, and I'd take something I
Equating
couldn't
her to
give
fast
back.
food, Jess. Fast food.
I know. It's like really... It makes me sick in like 9 different ways, so I'm very glad they've changed
Yeah,
it.
that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
a gross line.
And there's a lot of other cringy lines, especially from the engineer that they got rid of. And a lot of slurs that I'm very glad they got rid of, at least I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember any in what I saw.
There might have been one, because I remember one in American Dream that every time it hits my ears, I'm like, ah, no! And I think Rachel might know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do. But I mean, I grew up more, after I realized what the show was about and all of this stuff that goes on it, I listened to the new recording with Eva on it, and that has a lot of changes. A lot of changes that, even without like wanting to change stuff because it's disturbing, a lot of the lyrics are just better. They sound better.
Yes, I agree.
You know?
They
Yeah.
fit the lyric better. Because the problem with the original lyricists, Alain, Boublil, and Herbert and Claude-Michel Schönberg, the original writers, they're French, so they're French translating into English and then trying to make it rhyme. So a lot of the times
Mhm.
you got backwards syntax where just a line just is backwards. It happens a lot in Les Mis, and it bothers me a lot there too. But then again, I am an American idiot that, like, why isn't everyone pandering to me? God damn it.
They are, Jess. That's how you make money. They are pandering to you.
the wedding ceremony, they sing in Vietnamese. Did you know that it was gibberish until the Broadway production?
What the
like
no, what?
Really?
Yeah, so basically
That's kind of funny.
the story about this, I have one of my best friends is called Na Nguyen, and she's from Vietnam. She's also like super fan of Miss Saigon, and she was recently in a production of it, so we talked a lot about this, but we've talked about it a lot over just us being friends. So actually, if you listen to the 2014 London recording of it, all of that doesn't really make sense phonetically. Like in Vietnamese, it doesn't really actually mean anything. And the reason behind this is because when they were writing it, basically what the writers did is they just went to this like Vietnamese restaurant and asked I think all of these different waitresses, how do I write this? And they all came up with different answers.
What the fuck, guys?
So, yeah, exactly. So the writers were like, we'll just pick the one that sounds the nicest, which is not a great idea. They didn't even I don't know why. It kind of talks about, there's been not that many Vietnamese cast members. There's actually only been like 2 or 1 Kims that are actually Vietnamese. And one of them is on, I think, the UK tour. No, she was on the UK tour, and maybe she's in the US tour now. But there hasn't been that many Vietnamese actors or actresses in the musical. So when they carried it on to the revival in 2014, it was still gibberish, like all of that stuff. But once they brought it over to Broadway, Christopher Vo, who is a Vietnamese actor who was in the cast, was like, hey guys, by the way, this doesn't make any sense. Maybe you want to change that before we open the show again. And so he worked with them to rewrite it in a way that it still rhymed, but made actual sense. And I think that is a really interesting piece of information when looking at the show and how it was written by people that don't really know.
I wonder if that song is like unintentionally hilarious if you can actually understand the words.
Imagine being Vietnamese. Yeah, like you're going into this Broadway show and this is like your heritage, and then you sit down and they're singing like random words and you're like, what is happening? You're like, can't wait to see myself on stage. Like, woo. My mom, like, I don't know, I'm going to be seen on the stage and represented so well. And then you sit down and they're like singing random words. I can't
Google
even
Translate the musical.
I'm trying to imagine the American equivalent for this. So, okay, someone of a different like language goes to like America and asks them, "What are words you say at weddings?" And they're like, corset, aisle, flowers." So it's like corset, flowers, gown, and bridesmaid. That's what I'm imagining it is like.
No, it's good. Hey, what does it mean? Oh, it's just what they sing at weddings.
That's kind of what they say in the musical, though.
That is what they say in the musical, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's like
it all makes sense now.
Hilarious thing. Oh my god.
And she follows it up with, they didn't know what else to sing. Well, we don't know what they're singing right now, apparently.
It's like literally the writers of the musical are talking to you. They're like, I didn't know what else to put there.
It's the prettiest thing I've ever heard. And everybody's like, oh.
Oh, that changed the way I'm going to listen to this musical for the rest of my life. Thank you so much.
But it is, I think that after they changed it, it's like, it is that music is so beautiful. The melody is just gorgeous.
Is there anywhere I can listen to the new Broadway version? Because I'm just so used to the Juvoive gibberish nonsense.
It's not like
I'm sure it means something.
It means something. It's just not right. Like it's weird. It's like if we were speaking very broken English.
It's Google Translate the musical.
You can listen to it. I guess lots of people have like recordings of it. I don't know. That's very illegal.
Recordings.
Secret recordings.
Yeah, we do not promote bootlegs here. No, bootlegs here are bad.
Don't listen to any of that, guys. It's
Jess is
bad.
like winking right now.
Bootlegs are so horrible. Oh no.
Wink.
Outside, day starts to dawn.
Your moon still floats on high.
The birds awake.
The stars shine true.
My hand still shakes.
I reach for you.
And we meet in the
I love Sun and Moon. I think it's beautiful. I like the way that it was written, and the part that I love the most is when they sing to. I mean, so basically it's like Kim's verse, then Chris's verse, and then they sing kind of like back and forth. And then when they do the harmony of like, and we meet in the sky. One of the parts that like really throws people off sometimes, but is so beautiful, is that Chris goes up and Kim goes down in the harmony, which is not very. Like, it doesn't happen that often. So that's beautiful. That's one of the parts that I just need to give a shout out to.
They get closer together.
Yeah, it's beautiful. But I do think it is funny that when they wrote the musical, there's like a whole music, like usually they're dance breaks where nobody sings because they're dancing. But in Miss Saigon, they just have an entire like section of music for them to make out.
I mean, yes, and I see it in my head now.
It's a make-out break. No, literally, they're like, this is when you kiss. Yeah, and it happens in Last Night of the World as well. There's so many of them in the entire musical. They're like, and you
gotta
kiss
get that
now.
sex up there in front, and then they never kiss until like her brain's falling out of her head in the last scene.
Gotta show it to the
God.
kids.
gods of the sun, bring him to me. You will be who you want to be. You can choose whatever heaven grants, as long as you can have your chance. I swear I'd give my life for you. No one can stop what I must do. I swear I'd give my life for you.
Also, I think it all is pretty beautiful. I'd Give My Life for You, which is the big like Act 1 closing song, and Kim's big. I guess people say that it's like her biggest song. That is pretty amazing. I mean, again, it is like quite badass, but has that layer of like, oh, she's gonna die for her kid.
It's the most obvious foreshadowing that went over my head.
It's like not obvious at all. She doesn't sing a 4-minute song about it.
Yeah, not obvious. Jess is a genius.
She just really likes her kid. She just really wants him to be happy and safe and all that.
Yeah. All right, Jess, let's talk about We Are the World.
Chance to live. Every time the dust of life conceived in hell and born inside. They are the living reminder of all that can be found to do. That's why we know. That's why we know. Our children.
They're called Boublil.
Oh, Badoy?
Boublil.
Boublil. The dust of
Boublil.
life.
Is that what that means?
Yes,
Oh,
it means
no.
dust of. He literally sings it.
I know.
They're
I'm
called
dumb.
It is a
We are
bop.
the world.
We are the
We
world.
are the children.
Boublil. I mean, it is kind of parodying that.
Yeah, it definitely is. You get that vibe from it.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, I think it is. It serves a purpose. It just isn't one of like nobody loves it. Well, I love it. Loves it, but nobody's like that's
Jess
my
sang
favorite
that song. Jess, you want to talk about that?
No.
Jess, you want to talk about that? You performed that song.
This song, very obviously written for an African American man, and they put me up there with like this, like, they're called we door in the most white bread bullshit voice I can muster.
Jess was doing
in hell and burning strife. You know, I was like a little kid.
Jess was doing it as if it was as if it was in Oklahoma.
They is the living reminders of all the good we failed to do.
Oh, we love that.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, that was really good. That was such a good one.
I think it is interesting that John changes the most throughout the whole show.
Agree, yeah.
Considering he starts out as some guy that just wants to buy women, and then at the end he's running a charity.
And I think that Boublil was written to set up that entire thing of like, John is going to help us get Chris and Kim together. No, I mean, I was just going to say, if you think about it, people look at John as like, I mean, when you talk about Saigon, it's like Kim, Chris, Cam, the engineer. But John actually drives a lot of the story. Like, he's the reason that Chris stayed. And Chris went into the helicopter. He's the reason that Chris even had Kim in the first place. He's the reason that Chris came to Bangkok. He's the reason that, you know, like a lot of this is because of John, and nobody really recognizes that. And I've just realized that.
John is there at the beginning and he's there at the end. Is he the secret main character?
No, he is the devil on the shoulder.
He's the devil on the shoulder?
Like, come on, you want to buy the 17-year-old girl? No, you don't want to not fund that kid.
Every decision he tries to make is wrong.
Let me go, John. I can't leave her. Why in the world should I be saved instead of her? It's not you, it's war that's cruel. And just some deep gets smashed. Perhaps it's best they were.
There is no one to find here. They have left us behind here.
Wake up, my friend, your mercy trip has failed. That nothing you can do, that ship has sailed. See that the only one will have betrayed.
Get to the room for us, we are betrayed. Oh, Chris, I still believe the heart of you is here with me. My heart against our Lord holds still.
So let's talk about the fall of Saigon and Kim's nightmare, because this is the best scene in the entire show.
It's so cinematic and beautiful. Beautifully done.
That helicopter is like really cool.
It's even cooler live, I'll say. It's really cool live, too.
How did they do it?
Yeah, they like completely gutted a real one. So for the original, they gutted an actual helicopter and then took out like its frame and then made it like usable in a theater. And it was all pretty and epic and lots of wind machines and sound and stuff like that.
It's so cool.
Super effective. It recreates like the most iconic image of Vietnam.
Mm-hmm. And even if you look back in the very beginning, I was going to say this before, but they've always said that the sound of that helicopter is their overture. Like, I don't know, there is kind of an overture with like the but before that, before everything starts, it's just a sound of a helicopter going. So that it really sets up the entire like story. And then when you see this, I mean, I've actually seen people turn back because all like the actors focus so much on the helicopter coming. People turn back to look at what they're looking at because they're so focused, and the wind machines and like everything are so, they work so well together. So yeah, that scene is pretty cool. The way the whole like the entire thing comes together in the set, and it is pretty amazing.
I also like the ghost of Twee.
Yeah, that's strangely effective. In any other form or musical, I think that would have felt really contrived, but here it works really well.
It's my enemy. It's you turn to Bust, Hudson! You must not hesitate!
The earth moves where I stand. I feel the turning of a wheel. I feel nothing in my hand. Not even a chill of steel. You will not take my child.
You don't know how to kill!
I have no other choice. What I must do, I will.
You will not touch him in Act 1. That's what I wanted to talk about. Because that
I wanted to mention
scene,
that. That's one of my favorite parts.
it is the best scene. It's amazing.
That's what I was saying. I think it's better than the helicopter part.
Hmm
It's so intense.
Yeah,
I
they
agree.
really build it very well.
And then the this is the hour part right afterwards is just ooh.
the second time I came back to New York specifically to see Saigon, like another, I don't know how many times, it was I sat down and this girl next, like for backstory, this girl next to me comes in late and takes out her phone and starts Instagram storying the heat is on. So I turned to her and I'm like, hey, maybe like don't do that, please. And she just
like,
gives me a
don't
dirty
ever?
look. Yeah, please, like put it away. So she puts it away and I'm like, okay, fine. Then she's just giving me like dirty looks for the rest of the first act. And then This Is the Hour happens, which is my favorite scene in the entire show. And as all of these people are singing their hearts out to like the climax of this entire act, she whips her phone out and starts to take photos. And it just ruined it for me. And I was really upset about it. But yeah, Eva was like, you're awesome.
You
for
should have
telling
beat her
off.
up. You should have punched her in the face.
What's her name and what's her social security number? We're gonna go find her.
You should have
I was
gotten the
so
Musicals with
pissed.
Cheese Broadway pack, where we give you
100%.
laxatives and brass knuckles.
Oh, yeah.
And nothing else.
Everything you need to go see a Broadway show.
I guess we have.
Jess, is it
What?
that time? Is it
It's
that
that-
time?
It's that time.
It's that time.
It's that time.
All right. This is the time where we have trivia with the guest.
This
So I have
is
time.
the hour.
I was going to say that. Hey, you stole my joke.
It's not that dramatic. Although, I mean, if you want it to be.
Rachel, sing it.
This is the hour I swore I'd see. I alone can tell now what the end must be. They think they'll
Wow.
decide your life. No, it will be me. Burr, burr, burr. And then she kills herself. It's really good. And that's the end. The end. She dies.
How in the light of one night.
Have we come so far? And then she dies.
Oh no!
Kim! How could you do this, Kim?
I cannot believe you've committed suicide.
Someone please, for the love of God, do an edit of that. Where it's the ending of Miss Saigon and then cutting to Neil Breen in disbelief of him committing suicide. Make this for me.
That's a joke very few people will understand, but there you go.
The one person who does understand it, make it for me.
The one person who gets that is laughing their ass off right now.
It's me. All right, let's do the trivia.
All right. Jess, you're going to go first this time, all right?
Because I'm the sore loser.
All right, so for your first question, and
I'm
these
ready.
are questions not from me, by the way. These are from our guest. I did not make up these questions.
Rachel wrote these for me. So are mine, don't worry.
All right. Oh, Jess, I think you might have trouble with this one. Here we go. How many countries, cities, and languages has Miss Saigon been performed in?
Oh, fudge.
Actually, you know what? I'm going to limit this question a little bit. I'm going to say how many do you think languages or countries would be harder?
Languages.
All right. How many languages has Miss Saigon been performed in?
Is this only major productions that we're counting, or are we counting like all the other stuff too?
Like major ones. Like the
Okay.
ones that are backed by Cameron McIntosh.
All right. So I know at least Japanese. That's one.
English, Jess? I think you can...
No, it's not. None of them are in English. Like, what are
Yeah.
you talking about?
They're not in
No,
English.
none of them are in Vietnamese either.
Yeah, that is true, actually. That is very true.
Okay.
They've never done it in Vietnam.
I'm going to say 5, because it feels like I'm aiming low.
You actually are aiming very low. It's
Very,
15.
very low.
Because I feel like
15
Cameron
languages.
McIntosh doesn't really get his shows out there as much as like English, actual like American ones.
They've done it in German. Like, yeah, and that's actually where Jonathan Briones, who played the engineer, he met his wife doing it in German. She was Ellen.
Huh,
Pretty cool.
that's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, that's like a love story for the ages.
That's really ironic, too, because like the engineer and Ellen is my ship for the show.
Finally, everything would have worked out. Well, I lose. Like, what's the next question?
All right, so we're going to go now. Our guest will answer the question. So, Rachel, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm scared. Is this
All
going to
right.
discredit me for the rest of my life as the biggest Saigon fan?
Jess, you're going to have to help me with the pronunciation of this name.
Oh, God.
Okay. I'm trying to
it's,
remember what it was, what the question was.
Is it Leah
Leia Salonga.
Leia Salonga?
Leia Salonga? Sorry
I know
about
she
that.
knows this answer. I feel like I know that she knows this answer, but
First audition for Miss Saigon in what city?
In Manila.
Oh, so easy. Oh my goodness.
1,000.
Jess,
That
what
was
the
so easy.
I
softball.
know.
Oh my god. Jess usually doesn't go easy either. Like, what the heck was that, Jess?
She was 17. She already had done a bunch of
Same
like
age as
children's
you.
shows and stuff. Yeah, and
My goodness,
like
the
lots of-
softball.
but yeah,
All
she was
right.
like 16 or 17.
Okay, Jess. Here's another tough one for you.
okay.
Oh God,
um,
I feel bad now
this is
because I
gonna
thought he was
be-
gonna go hard on me.
Oh, don't feel bad. Don't feel bad because Jess deserves every punishment he receives. All right. Okay, this is going to be more of an estimate. How many people tried to log in to buy tickets to the 25th anniversary production of Miss Saigon within the first 5 minutes?
I'm going to say 500,000.
What?
Oh, now you're highballing. Holy shit.
By a lot, yeah.
20,000. 20,000 in the
That
first 5
sounds about
minutes.
right.
Which is still a lot.
I think
Yeah,
that is a lot.
it is still a lot. That is actually a very large amount in 5 minutes. Well, Jess, congratulations on thoroughly losing this.
You're
trivia
welcome.
battle. But we will still ask the last question. And my God, I think, Jess, why did you softball so hard with it? You didn't softball Oklahoma. Oh, well.
He's like,
Jess
she's
is- this is-
17.
this is-
Like, I need to go easy.
I don't know a crazy amount about Miss Saigon is the only thing.
Oh, Jess does his questions off the top of his head. So if he doesn't know it very well, then he can't hardball you.
Right.
Oh God.
That sounds vulgar. Don't say that.
Jess, now you brought it up, like Christ. All right. How many characters die on stage in Miss Saigon?
on
And
stage.
I think this is a really easy one. Yeah.
So Tui dies, Kim dies. Does anybody else die? Oh, and when the engineer kills this one of the uniform guards for his uniform, are we going that deep?
I'm going to give it to her.
Wait, so
There
I
you
mean
go.
like 2 named ones, and then the engineer kills some like ensemble member for his uniform. In If You Want to Die in Bed.
that counts. That's you got it.
Was the answer 2?
That
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I just.
but you
I was like, what if
actually
it's a
knew
trick
more than
question?
Jess did, so I think you actually
Wow, someone knew more than me about something? Wow.
Jess is so mad right now.
I'm
just-
honestly not, though.
Jess loses again. Jess has
I'm
been
the
on
best.
a losing streak.
All right.
Jess has been on a consistent losing streak.
The best around.
Congratulations on beating Jess. So
Thank you very
you
much. Am I
own the
now
show.
an all-around cool person?
You have won the title, yes.
Okay, good. So
Rachel, you will always be an all-around cool person, and we love you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, before we forget, let's do our final thoughts and cheese rating. What do you think, Jess?
Okay, that sounds like a good idea. Rachel, what are your overall thoughts on Miss Saigon? And do you happen to know anything about our cheese ratings?
Yeah, I've just come up with the kind of cheese, right?
Yes.
Yes,
The
the
problem
kind of
is-
cheese that you think fits the show.
Oh god, because I don't even know that many cheeses.
That's fine, neither do I.
I think he's
Okay.
put Swiss on like everything.
Swiss is my favorite type of cheese, to be fair.
In doing research on this, I should have like searched up types of cheeses. But I'm gonna say, okay, well, Miss Saigon, I love it dearly. I think the music is beautiful. I think the sets are gorgeous, and I'm very grateful for what it's done for the Asian, like the Asian actor community, I guess, and how it's influenced my life, because that was the first thing that I saw myself on stage in, and really thought that I could maybe do this one day. So I'm very, very grateful for it, and I love it very much. In terms of a cheese, well, I'm gonna say like mozzarella. Is that the squishy one? That's really satisfying
Mozzarella
to watch.
is... Yes.
Being made? Yeah. Okay, well, but I'm not gonna say it's because it's satisfying to watch, because Miss Saigon is like, it makes you feel yucky. But it's like squishy, you put it on top of other things, so it probably, like, you enjoy it with an opinion about the show that you choose to be like, yeah, that's not, this is not coming out the way that it should be. Like, you know that some of the aspects of the musical are problematic, but you enjoy it anyway, with a grain of salt. And
All right.
also, it's pretty cute sometimes.
Jess, I actually prepared for this one.
So did I. Can I go first?
Wow.
Jess, you can go first. Go ahead.
I love Miss Saigon. It's a musical that I really have appreciated for years. I relate to it very deeply. I remember at a very early age connecting with it. It is so important to me and my upbringing, and it hurts me to know that it can be problematic, but I still enjoy it. It's a guilty pleasure in that way, despite it having a lot of things that makes me cringe. So my cheese rating is American cheese, because what's that I smell in the air? The American cheese.
Oh, God.
Good one, Jess. Well, I don't actually have any experience at all with this, besides the one time I watched it and a couple times I listened to the cast recordings. But I think it's really good, and I like the music a lot in it. There's a lot of really great songs, and I also thought the sets were really good as well. The helicopter especially was impressive. Even not seeing it live, I was still impressed. And then as far as a cheese rating, I think I looked it up. I'm going to give it a cheesy biscuit, which was one of Vietnam soldiers' top foods that they ate. Was a cheesy biscuit.
Oh, dang it. You guys completely, like, you beat me in my rating. Mine didn't make any
There's no
sense.
winner of this show, except for the trivia contest, in which case you did win.
Which I won. So remember that.
Hey.
won it.
Do you know the real winner of this show?
Jess, I swear to God.
Is
The
it gonna be,
real
like,
winner
musicals, cheese?
is Audible, because today's show is brought to you by
Oh,
Audible.
God.
Audible is offering our listeners a free audiobook with a 30-day free trial membership. Just go to audibletrial.com/musicalswithcheese and browse the unmatched selection of audio programs. Download a title free and start listening. 'Tis that easy. Go to audibletrial.com/musicalswithcheese. That was a really fun show, you guys. Rachel, is there anything you want to promote out there so people can come find you and see the stuff that you do?
Oh, God. You're asking me to plug myself? This is a nightmare. Well, I'm Hyper Rachel with one R, so it's actually like Hype Rachel, but it's Hyper Rachel on everywhere, like on Twitter and everything, so you can find me there. I don't know. Yeah. Thank you, because people think that it's Hype Rachel, and I'm like one of those cringy teenagers, but I actually made it up when I was in 6th grade, and I've never strayed away from it. But yeah, that's where you can find me. I'm all around everywhere. I like talking about musical theater with people, so that's cool.
Which
Thank
means
so
you
much for
always
having
have a
me,
home
guys.
on this show. And anytime you want to come back, and if there's something you really want to talk about, just let us know, and you will always have a home here.
So basically, I'm taking it over. Like, this is my podcast now.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yep.
Well, you
I'll add
won
it
the
to my
show
CV.
with the trivia contest.
So I'm off. This is my last episode, folks. Introducing Rachel Chen as the new host of Musicals with Cheese. So
Very excited, guys.
Jess has been thoroughly embarrassed, I think.
If I haven't been more embarrassed in 23 years, like in other things, like I don't think this will take me down. But if you guys are listening to this right now, that means you have a phone nearby, and I think you should use that phone to text a friend about how much you enjoyed this episode and send them a link. Just a couple words telling about why you like this show, and get one more person to listen to it. One more person is always helpful. So we're on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, which is a weird one, and a bunch of other things at Musicals with Cheese. Our Twitter is at Cheesy Musicals. Follow us on Patreon at Musicals with Cheese. We got a bunch of new things coming up. You're going to be really excited. And if you're not a part of the cool cheese club, you're never going to be as cool as us. You're not going to see it. You're going to
club.
It's the real FOMO. The real FOMO is not being a part of the Musicals with Cheese Patreon. So
that's true.
We're also on Instagram at Musicals with Cheese, our YouTube page at Musicals with Cheese. Email musicaltheaterlives@gmail.com. Also, brand new website. Jesse made it all by himself, and he's really proud of it. So go check that out at www.musicalswithcheese.com. Our title card was created by the incredible Jolene Casco. Look at her Instagram at Jolene Casco. Anything else you guys want to say before we head out?
Yep, I want to plug the Pirate Queen. I want to say everyone should check that out.
That's what we take away from this episode. Miss Saigon is not the most iconic musical that they've ever written. It's The Pirate Queen, so go check that out.
Check out The Pirate Queen. It's a very good show. Has a lot of cool stuff.
While you're at it, check out Rebecca the Musical.
Oh, Rebecca. How's that spelled?
It's a deep cut because it never premiered on any stage because of money.
Very good.
All right. What about you, Rachel? Anything left to say?
No, just thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun. I've laughed a lot, so thank you. It was very chaotic, but a great experience.
Welcome to the cheese.
Yep. You are now going to be on our website. You are on our mantelpiece forever.
Oh, 100%. I'm just going to haunt you forever.
Oh, perfect. You're the ghost of Rachel Chen.
My headshot will be like
all right.
Next to your bed forever.
Oh God, no, don't do that. All right, we'll see you next time on Musicals with Cheese.